What's up everybody, David here, and today we're going to be upgrading my audio PC. Now, Black Friday just passed, and a problem I'm having with my computer is I am completely out of storage. I think between my 250 gig SSD and my 2 terabyte storage drive, I have about 26 gigs left, or maybe like 100 gigs left, which is not nearly enough because I got new libraries and new software that I can't even install because I don't have room. So that is a problem. Now, for Black Friday, I've been waiting for a sale, and I picked up everything I need. I picked up one M.2 1 terabyte drive, and that's going to be for my actual boot drive. That's what I'm going to load Windows on. I picked up two 2 terabyte SSDs, which is a SSD and a standard hard drive hybrid. That's going to be for all my storage. And then I actually am going to fix my RAM today. So when I installed my RAM, I installed them in the wrong slots. So I'm going to fix it. But instead of just putting the RAM where it goes, I'm just going to put more RAM in it and fill it up. So yeah, well, I guess technically my motherboard can support 64 gigs, but I'm putting 2 more 8 gig cards to give myself 32 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure that I exactly need that, but it was a good price, and yeah, figured why not. The one thing I did not get that I was looking for on Black Friday, I kind of just forgot about it until Black Friday had passed, is new case fans. The case fans that are in my computer are the stock ones that came with the Fantex case. They are not by any means loud, but I can hear them, and I don't want to hear them, so I do plan on replacing those in the future. I just didn't grab them now, so that is another upgrade I'm planning. I probably won't do a video on that one because it'll take me like 5 minutes, but that is something I will be doing in the future as well. Probably in the next couple weeks. I've had these parts for about a week and a half, but I've been waiting to do a video while I did the upgrades because I thought it would be interesting for some of you tech nerds out there. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is the RAM, because that's the easiest and probably quickest thing to do. And as you can see, my RAM is in slots 1 and 2. If I'm correct, this board recommends you put them in slots 2 and 4. I don't know what I was thinking. Apparently I wasn't paying attention when I did this. I put them in 1 and 2. So like I said, instead of fixing them and putting them in the right slots, I'm just gonna put some more RAM in it. So problem solved, right? So just make sure you put it in the right way. It's pretty hard to mess it up. Just make sure both sides are aligned, press down. Once it clicks, you're good. That's 1 and 2. Now this is a little tough for me because I've had a lot of coffee today and my hands are not the stillest thing to be working on a PC, but that's okay. There's 1 side and 2 sides. Cool. 32 gigs of RAM, just like that. All right, next is the M.2. You can't really see in the light there, but that one's gonna go right here on the bottom of the board because there's a ton of room right there. This one will be tough for me because once again, I have big hands and my hands are super shaky right now. So yeah, I'm just all sorts of screwed. We're gonna unplug this for now because it's in my way. So for some M.2 slots, you have to put them in diagonal and then lower it down. This one is not like that. You just put it straight in. So line it up, flatten it out, and push in. Boom, that's in there. Now we grab our screw and screwdriver, and this is the tough part because, like I said, very big hands, very small screws. So yeah, hopefully I don't screw this up. And boom, now I have 32 gigs of RAM and an M.2 hard drive already installed. So let me plug my graphics card back in. I think it was this one I had plugged in. Cool, and now we'll put the PC on a desk and start the hard drive phase, well, the other hard drives. All right, so now it's time for the other couple hard drives. Now these are SSHDs, so they are hybrids between a regular hard drive with a spinning disk and a solid state. And what's really cool about this case that I have, this is the Fantex P400S for you nerds who are curious, is it actually includes 2 bays for solid state drives. So normally I'd have to get the 3.5-inch adapter to put this in the hard drive bay on the bottom, but I can put it in these 2 brackets right here. So for this one, just loosen these screws. We should be able to push this up. There we go. And then this comes off. And then we can install our SSD into the bracket just like that. And then it just bolts right back on. I'm just gonna screw the hard drive into this. All right, and we got 1 more screw here. Luckily, I kept all these screws that came with my case and all my parts. I kept the extra SATA cables, which I'm gonna need. Always good practice to keep extra parts that your computer build comes with, because if you ever want to add stuff or modify it like I'm doing it right now, I'm not screwed because I still have all the necessary hardware. So now that we have the hard drive installed, I can just slide it back in. There we go. All right, now we just plug in the power connector, so we're good there. Alright, so now it's time for the SATA cable that will go into the motherboard. That hooks up right there. That is done. We'll feed this right behind the Velcro into the front end of the case, like so. And then we'll flip this around and plug it into the motherboard. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna leave this SSD in here because the M.2 I installed on the motherboard is actually gonna replace this drive right here. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna clone this hard drive onto the M.2, so theoretically, I should be able to start my computer like nothing ever happened. So I have to leave this connected while I do that cloning. Obviously, it still has to be plugged in, it still has to boot up. Once everything is cloned and I can verify that it is booting off the other drive, then I will take this out and I'll replace it with the other SSHD that I bought that is also 2 terabytes. So you're not gonna see that in this video. I'll probably do that off camera, but that's why I'm leaving this in here. I'm gonna clone it first. Once it works, then I'll replace it with the other drive. All right, so let's turn it around and plug the SATA cable into the motherboard. So now we're looking at the front of the motherboard, and I currently see why I did not use an angled SATA connector because I can't really get it into the proper port. So I'm gonna switch that out with a non-angled one, and I'll be right back. All right, so I fed through a different SATA cable that does not have the right angle on it. This should be easier. Let me tuck it behind these wires. See what I mean about the big hands, dude? I love doing this, but man, I'm not built for it. All right, so now we have that tucked through. We're gonna plug it into the SATA port on the motherboard. I've also been spraying out the computer, just on a side note, in a lot of these takes because I haven't opened it in a while, so it's good to dust it off because you will get dust in your build. So make sure you're keeping it clean. All right, so that's it. We have the M.2 installed, we have the RAM installed, and we have one of the hard drives installed. And like I said, I will clone the existing SSD onto the M.2 first, and then I'll replace the other one probably off camera because you already saw how I did one of them. So let's boot it up and start the cloning process. All right, so everything's hooked up again. I'm gonna turn on the computer, but I'm gonna run it into the BIOS first because I want to make sure that it recognized the extra RAM that I put in it. So I'm just going to overuse the delete key, turn my monitors back on. Wait, are they on? They were on. Boom. So I ran into the BIOS. All right, you can't see it, but it does show that I'm running 4 channels of 8 gig memory at 3000 megahertz. Can you see it? No, you can't. And it is 32 gigs of RAM. Hell yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So let me go ahead and boot this back up. All right, so now we're booted into Windows. Let me see if this new hard drive gets recognized. All right, so let's open the Windows Explorer and see if the hard drives are popping up. And they are not. So you can see why I'm getting new hard drives. My boot drive, which is the 250 gig, has 6 gigs left. And then my storage drive has 100 gigs left, and that's not going to work. So we need to set up that other hard drive. System and security, administrative tools, computer management, storage, disk management. So, all right, we see the M.2. That is set up. So I do need to make a new simple volume. So this is just like naming the drive and setting the amount of space. Okay, we're gonna call this boot drive. I cannot type. All right, quick format. Cool, finish. So it's gonna format it real quick and set it up. So now when I go to this PC, now my boot drive is right there. So this is the M.2 I installed. So now I can go ahead with the cloning process, but I first need to figure out why the new SSD is not showing up. It's plugged in, but it's not showing up on the hard drive. So I'm gonna figure that out real quick off camera because I don't know what's going on. It could take a while, so I'll be back. All right, so now it's working. It's showing up in the program. All I did was plug it into a different SATA port. So, all right, who cares? So we have to initialize this one just like we did with the last one. I think I did it off camera. So we're gonna initialize that, and then it'll allow us to create it as a new volume like we did before. All right, so I'm just gonna name this one samples and libraries. Oh geez. So that's what this drive is going to be. One of them is going to be samples and libraries, which is this one. The other one will be all my projects, and then the other one will be all of my just video files and pretty much just everything else. It's going to format it real quick just like the last one, and then you'll see it pop up here as a readily available drive. All right, so it just opened up in Explorer. We see it right here, samples and libraries. And then boom, we have our new M.2 drive, our new 2 terabyte drive for samples, and then you're going to see one more once I clone the drive, which is what we're going to do now. which I've never done before, so this will be interesting. Alright, so I have the program open that we're going to use to clone the drive. It's called Macrium Reflect. It was a free program, and this was recommended by a few videos, so we're going to try it out. So the way we do this is we click on the drive we want to clone, which is this 232 gig. That's the current 250 gig SSD. We're going to hit clone this disk. Here we select what we're going to clone it to. So in this case, we want to use the 953 gig M.2. And once we do that, I'm going to copy the selected partitions. So these are the partitions that were recommended by Windows when I installed it onto this drive. I'm just going to leave those alone. So this partition up here is set to 232 gigs, and it just copied that over. So we're not using all of the space inside of this new hard drive. With that being said, I'm going to click on Properties and select this to change the partition to the maximum size. So now we are using 225 gigs out of 953 gigs. So now we have a proper 953 gig storage. So I'm going to hit next once we're using up all the space. All right, we're just going to go for it. Looks like everything is set up. It's going to do a backup real quick. We'll call it clone. Oh, that's cone. I can't type. We'll do it 12.5. That's a 9. Say OK. Overwrite. All right, so we are cloning. I have no idea how long this is going to take. The video I saw took like 3 hours. So I'm going to stop the recordings and let this do its thing, and we will come back and hopefully it boots up. Hopefully. Alright, so the cloning process is completely done now. So I've unplugged the 250 gig SSD. It took about 37 minutes, which is a lot faster than I thought it would. But I unplugged the 250 gig SSD, and I'm just going to boot it up, and hopefully it boots. Well, I might have to set that in the BIOS, actually. I don't know. I'm just going to boot it up, and hopefully it boots like nothing has changed. So we will find out. That's terrifying. It usually takes about 12 to 16 seconds to boot, so we should know pretty quick. Oh god, it's doing something. Hello, phone. Holy shit, okay. That is Windows. So, local disk 724 gigs free of 953. It worked, cool. So everything was cloned onto the new M.2, and Windows booted off of it just like normal. So now I can go ahead and install the second SSD, or the SSHD technically, and then I'll have my 2 brand new hard drives, and from there I just have to migrate whatever I want over to the new drives, and I'm done. So everything is done. The M.2 is installed and it's booting off of it with no problem. Everything's been cloned. As far as I see, all the files are still there. We have our 2 hard drives installed. Well, one of them is installed. The other one will take me 5 minutes to set up. And the RAM is good to go. It's recognizing 32 gigs. So boom, now we have double the RAM, went from 16 to 32, and I now have 5 terabytes of extra storage in my computer, which was very, very much needed. Please shut up, phone. So that's it. Different kind of video than normal, but I've been really excited about these upgrades. Something I really needed to do, so I thought it'd be fun to do it on camera and show you guys kind of what goes into upgrading my computer and showing you actually how I do it. So that's it for today. As always, make sure to do the YouTube stuff and like, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified. And of course, my name is David. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.